In today's video, we're going to talk about the giant ship that's blocking the Suez Canal and its economic impact on the world. Now, thankfully, as I was working on this video, the ship has been freed after days of being stuck in the mud. The Ever Given, as it's known, is a container ship that is longer than the Eiffel Tower and almost as long as the Empire State Building in New York City. Now, on the morning of March 23rd, the ship ran aground and subsequently blocked one of the world's busiest trading routes, the Suez Canal. Literally everything you can think of passes through the Suez Canal on cargo ships. I mean, our food, our oil, our gas, our electronics, our furniture, our cars. I mean, literally anything and everything passes through the Suez Canal. Now, most of us in America are familiar with the Panama Canal because we are taught about it in school. And it's probably due to the fact that the Panama Canal was completed by the United States after the French couldn't finish the job. But if you are like me, your teachers and your curriculum probably never covered the Suez Canal. Quite frankly, I don't think many people in America even knew about the Suez Canal until the last week or so, since it's made international headlines. Anyways, the Suez Canal is a 120-mile man-made waterway that cuts through Egypt to connect the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Now, if we think about this in terms of oceans, the Suez Canal connects the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. The Suez Canal is a key transit point for ships moving goods between the eastern United States, Europe, and Asia. It entered service in 1869, which is 45 years before the Panama Canal, and in terms of size and length, it dwarfs the Panama Canal. The Suez Canal is 120 miles in length, and the Panama Canal is 51 miles in length. In fact, the ship that's been stuck in the Suez Canal wouldn't even fit in the Panama Canal. And to give you context of just how big the Ever Given is, it's really big. I found this really cool infographic in a Wall Street Journal article that I was reading, and as you can see, the Ever Given is one of the biggest ships on the planet. In fact, when you compare it to the biggest ship in the world, the HMM Algeciras, both ships are 1,312 feet long. The only difference is that the Ever Given is narrower by 6 feet at 194 feet compared to 200 feet. For context, the largest ship to ever pass through the Panama Canal was the NYK Triton, and it was 997 feet long and only 131 feet wide. Now, when we compare their dead weight, the Ever Given weighs in at approximately 220,000 tons, whereas the NYK Triton weighs in at approximately 88,000 tons. So long story short, the Ever Given is massive, and that's why it took so long to set it free. Roughly 80% of the world's trade travels by sea, and about 12% of that passes through the Suez Canal. Now, if we just look at oil as an example, over 1 million barrels of oil pass through the Suez Canal each day. Without the Suez Canal, a supertanker carrying Mideast crude oil to Europe would have to travel an extra 6,000 miles around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. And by not having to travel the extra 6,000 miles typically saves shipping companies approximately $300,000 in fuel costs. And not only that, it also lowers the risk of an accident or some unforeseen event because the waters off the Cape of Good Hope are some of the most treacherous to navigate in the world. Now, here's a little fun fact. The Cape of Good Hope was originally named the Cape of Storms in the 1480s by Portuguese explorers. They soon realized that naming it the Cape of Storms was a terrible PR move, and they renamed it the Cape of Good Hope. Now, that was probably the right thing to do, but a bit misleading in my opinion. Now, the reason the waters are so dangerous is because it's where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans meet, and when these currents meet, they create treacherous waves that are responsible for a countless number of shipwrecks over the course of history. And just really quick before I continue, if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. The global supply chain is going to be hit hard by the closure of the Suez Canal. Now, supply chains around the world are already out of sorts due to the pandemic, and this incident is only going to put more pressure on them. According to Bloomberg, in 2020, 19,000 ships passed through the Suez Canal, and that's more than 50 ships per day. And since March 23rd, when the Ever Given got stuck, the number of ships passing through the Suez Canal has dwindled to zero. Now, as you can see from this aerial photo, the Ever Given has completely blocked the canal. Now, judging from this picture, it looks like even a jet ski would have a tough time passing through, let alone another ship. Since the canal is instrumental in the shipment of oil, we saw oil futures rise by 5% last Friday on supply concerns. In fact, the cost of gas in most parts of the world has seen an increase over the past week or so. Some, if not most of that price appreciation can be attributed to this event. While the news of the vessel being freed is promising, there will most definitely be some collateral damage. Now, due to the large number of vessels that have accumulated, it could still be days or weeks until the canal is fully back to normal operations. At this point, reports suggest that over 360 vessels are still waiting to pass through the Suez Canal. Even with the Ever Given being dislodged this morning, the economic impact is far from over. Now, all of those 360 plus ships that have been waiting to pass through the Suez Canal will essentially arrive at their destination ports simultaneously, and that will create new traffic jams. Unlike our Amazon deliveries, which arrive at our doors within days or hours, cargo schedules are created months in advance and they will need to be reshuffled, which is a logistical nightmare to say the least. Some shipping companies and operators have already decided to reroute their vessels around the Cape of the Cape of Good Hope, because they didn't know if the Suez Canal was going to be blocked for days or weeks or months. And as I mentioned earlier, sending the vessels around the Cape of Good Hope is not only more dangerous and expensive, it also adds at least an extra week to sailing times. According to the Freightos Baltic Index, which is the leading international freight rate index, the cost of shipping a standard container of goods from China to the West Coast has doubled since June of 2020. Now, similarly, prices on China to Europe routes have tripled since November of 2020. Now, with the cost of shipping already experiencing some serious price inflation over the past year, this incident will only put more pressure on those prices. Now, I hadn't heard of the Freightos Baltic Index until I started researching for this video, and if you're looking for some price transparency when it comes to shipping, I would definitely recommend checking it out. This incident in the Suez Canal would be drawing less attention if the blockage had occurred at any other time. But the pandemic already created a supply chain nightmare, and this week-long closure of the Suez Canal definitely does not help. This disruption will no doubt ripple through the entire global economy. It will impact everything from the flow of oil, chemicals, apparel, iron ore, and manufactured goods like automobiles and electronics. If you've seen my video on the semiconductor industry, there is already a major shortage of chips in the world, and I can't imagine that the Suez Canal being shut down for a week will help with that. Now, American auto companies like GM and Ford are particularly being hit hard by the chip shortage, so I'm interested to see how big of an impact this will have. But the automotive industry isn't the only industry dealing with supply chain issues. I really can't think of an industry that isn't dealing with supply chain issues right now. Now, everything from, clothing to cameras, from bicycles to snowmobiles, are all feeling the supply chain pinch. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, all of the ships that are waiting to get through the canal will be arriving more or less to their destination ports at the same time. And when you couple this with the shortage of truck drivers across the country, supply chains may take a bigger hit than we expect. If you didn't know, there is a shortage of truckers in the United States, and when a container ship arrives in a port, a large portion of that shipment is loaded onto trucks. Another interesting dilemma, at least for me, is the impact that this closure will have on freight forward contracts. Now, essentially what that means is that companies will face a choice between locking in today's high prices for shipping for the next year and beyond, or take a gamble that prices will ease as the system rebalances. Now, I'm not a shipping or freight analyst, but I am interested to see how this will play out. It could have huge implications on companies' balance sheets going forward. In summary, I think it's great news that this mishap has been resolved. Traffic will eventually begin flowing normally through the Suez Canal. But with the pandemic already altering our economic landscape, I'm curious to see what the future economic impact of this closure will be. Now, under normal circumstances, analyzing the economic impact of the Suez Canal closure would be hard enough, let alone during a pandemic like the one we're in. I hope you all found today's video helpful and insightful. If you could please hit that like and subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you learned something new today. I'll see you all next time.